she said, ISO 22301, which is the standard for our business continuity management system. So this class is going to be an interactive class, right? I need us all to contribute and also interact with myself, and so we can have a productive section, right? So it's not who knows better. It's our collective understanding of what we think business continuity is and how well we can integrate these into our organization as it were, or into our different activities uh, as it is. So give me a moment. Let me share my screen so we would commence the section. Can we all see my screen? Is it visible to all?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. All right. So business continuity management system. So I would like us to interact based on our understanding of what business continuity is to us and what we think business continuity is in a nutshell. So let's build the context from there.
Please, can I talk?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Please do.
When we are talking about ISO 22301, that's business continuity management system, it is to address all issues related to downtime, specific to organizations or anywhere. Let me just say that anywhere that people are involved. Are you with me?
All right.
For instance, maybe there is a kind of an electricity downtime, have a kind of a backup generator to make sure that this business is continuing. And it also talks about resilience, that is ability to stand at in terms of destruction, and to have a kind of when there's a destruction, ability to be able to withstand it. It talks about it, and it talks about some concepts like MTD, that's maximum tolerable that time. That
Fantastic.
is the time. Let me just say the number of hours business can survive when there's a kind of a downtime. That's the MTD. Then we have the RPO, backing up activity. That one now talks about that one puts out the availability. Yes, availability of the CIE triad. So then it talks about RTO. So from my own little knowledge, that's what I can say about business continuity management system.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Thank you for that explanation, as it were. Well, from the explanation, you talked about having a plans in place, and you also talk about operational resilience. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any other contributor? I need two more persons, please. Two more persons, please. All right.
Oh, okay.
Please. Yeah, Mr. Emmanuel, please.
Okay, so I would come in from more like a layman's part and not with so much of the words from the ISO part. So business continuity speaks to the processes that a business will set in place to ensure that operations are done safe and they are continuous. They are done, activities are done safe, and then they are also continuous.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Please come in.
Okay, like I just said, I will come also like a layman in the field.
That's no problem.
Look at the management aspect. Management is getting people to do things at a time.
Yes, please.
Business continuity management system is that everything has been planned. How will that business continue with the policy that are being made? How do we bring this policy together? How do we effect this policy to ensure that the business continue growing? Because without policies, without decisions that are made for the business cannot go. So we are looking at how we can bring all all the policies together from the top management and effect them on the people who carry out those policies, then we'll have effective business continuity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are all saying the same thing, right? We are all saying the same thing, having plans in place to ensure we can continue. That's in a nutshell, that's business continuity. I will agree that every organization exists to deliver products or services, be it a manufacturing a company, right? They exist to deliver our products or services. A government agency also exists to deliver public services. Hospitals, right, exist to deliver what? Healthcare services. A bank exists to deliver what? Financial services, right? And customer expects that these services are always available when they need them, right? Are always available when they need them. And you know, we don't operate in an ideal environment, right? Disruption can happen anytime. And we are looking at it from, okay, let's say Nigeria now, all of the happenings around Nigeria, civil unrest and the likes, right? Disruption can happen anytime. So the question for us is, when disruption happens, can the organization continue to deliver its critical processes? That's the question for us. When this disruption occurs, be it civil unrest, be it IT system failure, be it cloud service outage, be it terrorism, or what the disruption would be, right? Can the organization continue to deliver its critical products and services to customers? So that's the foundation of business continuity management system. Having a plan in place, because you're proactive about what could happen, what could disrupt your organization. Now you're having a plan in place to ensure that regardless of these scenarios but regardless of this disruption, you can continue to deliver your critical product and services to your customers. Even if you can't do 100% of how you do on business as usual, but you can still do to some acceptable level of continuity to meet your objective. That is it. That is it. So business continuity management system, like the last speaker was saying, a system. What's a system, right? A system is how different components functions and run together. And when we are looking at business continuity management system, what is the system are we looking at? System in terms of people, our processes, our methodology, our procedure, right? That's the different component that we're looking at it in terms of business continuity. So business continuity is a structured process that an organization, right, can leverage in implementing can use to implement, right, maintain and continually improve its management system within the organization. So that's business continuity in a nutshell. And the different components of the standard. When we look at the different components of the standard, we can now see how well we can identify these critical processes, right? How we can prioritize them, and what are the recovery steps that we need to have within our system to ensure that we can continue, and also how we can validate our plans, which is exercising them, right, to ensure that when there is disruption, we can actually fall back to the plans we have to ensure that we can continue our operations. So we're looking at those different components of the management system, and we understand it one after the other, so we can get the benefits of business continuity. So we'll take it from the basics down to the implementation phase, right? So these are the 3 stages of how we would look at this section, right? The awareness phase, we are looking at understanding disruption and why business continuity matters, right? And we'll also look at the second stage, which is assessing the impact and also the risks, and also building your first plan, which is your continuity plan, and also the implementation guidelines, how we want to design and also run a complete business continuity management system. And if you agree with me, right, every organization, be it small or big or a large enterprise organization, can implement the business continuity management system. Let's take it now from the perspective of let's say a small business like a bully seller now, right? A bully seller can definitely implement a business continuity into its organization. Right? It might not be the full-fledged of how a bigger company would implement, right? So first off is the bully seller would definitely identify, oh, where I get my plantain from, right? For example, if this supplier that supplies me this plantain is unavailable, do I have an alternate supplier that can still supply me the same quantity of banana of plantain that my first supplier supplies me, right? That in a nutshell is you're thinking about continuity already, right? And also the Bolisela would also say, oh, let me look at it from this perspective. During rainy seasons, right? Probably she doesn't have a shop where she does a market, right? For example, she doesn't have a place. Maybe she does it probably in an open environment, right? And there's no shade attached to it. And let's say, oh, during the rainy season, how can I continue to do my business? She's not looking at alternative arrangements. If there's a downpour, can she probably do the same thing somewhere else, not a primary spot? She's looking at, if that place is unavailable, can she use another alternate site to do that same thing and also deliver that same services to our customers? She's looking at it. And also, she needs to also assess this arrangement. She needs to also text this plan that she has. That, in a nutshell, is business continuity. But you don't need to spend more. Like, you don't need to spend more money to have a business continuity arrangement embedded in your system. So that's the misconception around the business continuity management system, not just business continuity management system and other standard, right? People think that business continuity is expensive, but I say it's not expensive. It's an enabler. It's a business enabler. It's a catalyst for growth, catalyst for expansion, catalyst that build your brand, right? If I want to bank, let's say I want to partner with an organization, right? And the first question I would ask them is, do you have a business continuity arrangement embedded in your system? And the person says, yes, I would want to work with you. Why? Because I know that regardless of the situation or regardless of the disruption, you can still deliver to me. So it's a catalyst for growth. And let's take it from this. Let's now take it from this perspective. Now, during COVID, right, most organizations, right, went bankrupt. Why? Because they don't have a continuity arrangement, because they can't access their permanent facility. Most organizations fold up because they don't have those arrangements. They don't have alternative arrangements. Probably they don't have remote policies and alternate things that they can do remotely without them being in their permanent facility. So business continue to go beyond just getting certified and all of those things. It's about embedding the requirements as it is into your organization. Let it be part and parcel of your organization, because the business continuity management system helps an organization to achieve their strategic objective as an organization. So for you to achieve your objective as an organization, you need also to factor business continuity, because if you can't continue your operations, you can't meet your strategic objective as an organization. So business continuity helps us to align well with the strategic objective of the organization to ensure that we can meet our objectives. Are we together, please? Are we together, please?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, fantastic. So these are the three. Thank you very much. So these are the three stages of this training. We're looking at the different aspects of this training when it comes to business continuity and a business continuity management system. So why business continuity matters? Like I said it already during COVID. So disruption can happen anytime. And like I said, Nigeria currently, so many things are happening: political instability, civil unrest, terrorism, power outages, and all of those disruption, right? If you don't have a structured plan in place that can help you continue when all of these things happen, there's a problem to your organization. You start having adverse impact on your organization, but you start having financial impact, but you start having reputational impact, you start having legal impact, and all of those impact that your organization can face if your activities, your critical activities, are not continuous as it is, right? So business continuity is as, and like I said, business continuity is every plan that you have for your business to survive. What plans do you have for your business to survive? That's it. Because there are so many disruptions, so many disruptions, and we need to be proactive about them so that we can continue. That's the essence of it. Then business continuity, like the standard says, is the capability of an organization to continue to deliver its products and service at a predefined acceptable level following a disruption. It's the capability of an organization. You are prepared. You have trained staff. You have readily resources. You have the recovery arrangements. Right? You have that capability to deliver your critical product and services because you've identified those critical activities that support the delivery of this critical product and services to customers. You've identified that. That's the business impact analysis. But one of someone said that already. You've identified, but what are critical to the organization? But we can't do it but we can't continue our services if these critical activities are down. You've identified them. You've identified the resources. You've identified the application and everything that depends on that activities depend on. You've identified them. And then you can recover at a predefined acceptable level. But we can still do something. If let's say, for example, we do 10,000 transactions in 1 hour. During a disruption, we can afford to do 40,000. That's the acceptable level of continuity that we can still do as regards to the activities. So it's the capability of an organization to continue to deliver its critical products and services at a predefined acceptable level following a disruption. Right? So what are the importance of business continuity? What are the important? So there are a lot of importance. So I just brought this one. These are one of the core ones around the importance of business continuity. It builds trust and also enhance your reputation as an organization. Like I said, if your organization is known to these people can deliver, but regardless, people would want to work with your organization. So it builds your reputation as a brand, as an organization, right? It also helps you to be in compliance with all of the legal and regulatory requirements that your organization is subscribed to. We have different laws that governs how an organization operates within every country or region as it is, We have the CBN law, we have the NDP and all of those things. So it helps you comply with all of these regulatory obligations that your organization needs to be in compliance with. If you look at the standard, but when it comes to clause 4.2.2, but when it talks about legal and regulatory requirements, how about financial stability? It helps you to reduce loss, reduce downtime. And like I said, it's a catalyst for what? It's a business enabler, catalyst for growth. Like I said, it also helps you to it also build stakeholder confidence in you, in your organization, right? Stakeholders are, these people can deliver. I can bet that these people, regardless of the situation, they will still deliver to you. It gives stakeholders that confidence in your organization, right? And also operational resilience. Someone spoke about resilience. You can anticipate, you can respond to, you can recover from a disruption at the immediate because you have a structured plan in place. But you can bounce back immediately following a disruption or during a disruption. It builds operational resilience. And also, it also gives you competitive advantage amongst your peers. It gives you competitive advantage, right? But you and an organization are lobbying for a project, or you're bidding for, yes, but you're bidding for a contract or something, and you have a business venture arrangement. The other person does not have a business venture arrangement. You've won the case. You've won it already. Because they would want to work with you to have a continuity arrangement compared to an organization that does not have a continuity arrangement. So it builds that competitive advantage among your peers, right? So common disruption. So, but what are the common disruption an organization can face, right? You have cyber attack, right? You have power failures. It's really constant in Nigeria. We have flooding. What's happening currently in across Nigeria, right? We have supply chain failures. If your critical suppliers, if their process are unavailable, they could also result to a single point of failure. If you depend on them for critical activities, it could turn to be a single point of failure. How about pandemic? It's also a disruption. How about fire incident? IT service outage, civil unrest, a lot of disruption. So this disruption can impact an organization in one way or the other. It can impact an organization. We don't work in isolations, right? We depend on other organizations or people to deliver services to organization as well. So these are possible disruptions that can affect or have impact on our organization as it is, right? So, and like I said, because of being unprepared, if we don't have a continuity arrangement within our system, right, we would spend more to recover that system to how it was before the disruption. And compared to someone that has a business continuity arrangement, but you can continue when you're still faced with that disruption. You can continue and then you can recover back to an operational state. It takes a shorter time for you to recover. But an organization that does not have a business continuity arrangement, you spend more. Like I said, it's not expensive. It's not. It's not expensive. If you think it's expensive, try ignorance. That was what happened during COVID. So many big organizations went bankrupt, fold up, because they don't have the continuity arrangements embedded in their system. Do we have any questions now before we go to the next phase? Do you have any question whatsoever? All right. All right. So the business impact analysis, but we're talking about disruption, our critical activities, and all of those things, right? Now we want to identify those critical activities, right? So the business impact analysis is the process of analyzing the effect of disruption on business function and processes to determine the recovery priorities, resource requirements, and also the interdependencies. So, but what it does is identifying the critical activities within your organization. So you're conducting a business impact analysis and you're defining your parameters. Someone made mention of MTPD or MTD, right? The RPO, the RTO, and the minimum business continuity objectives. Those are key components that we use in identifying the criticality of all of our process within the organization, right? First is identify the critical activities across the different functions of our organization, assessing the disruption impact. But what are the impacts that you're looking at it from? Financial impact, operational impact, legal impact, reputational impact. What impact type are you looking at it from? So when you define your impact type, right, you cannot prioritize based on the criticality. And these are the parameters we use to identify it. We have the MAO or the MTPD, which is the maximum time frame that an organization can tolerate a process to be down. So the maximum time frame that a process can be down or an activity can be down before you start experiencing adverse impact, that's the MAO. So you need to define what your threshold is. For example, right, an organization can define that the maximum tolerable period of downtime for a process, right, for a critical process, depending on the process, can say it's 6 hours. Some can say it's 24 hours. Some can say is 12 hours, depending on what your criteria is that you've defined. Then you can now establish your recovery time objective, which is the RTO, which is the targeted time you aim to recover that critical activities, right? So the ML talks about the maximum time frame, right, that a process can be unavailable. Then the recovery time now tells you the targeted time you want to recover that process. So you usually need to benchmark the MAO or the MTPD as it is. It's the same thing, right? Let's say, for example, you've defined that the MAO for that process or the MTPD for that process is 6 hours, right? You're not establishing your RTO that, oh, within a certain time frame, I should recover this this process. I don't want to get to the maximum time frame, which we said, for example, is 6 hours. So when I say, okay, 50% of what 50% of what the MAO is or the MTPD is represents the RTO for that process. Let's say the MAO, for example, or the MTPD, for example, is 6 hours. Then when I say 50% of 6 hours is when we aim to recover that process, that's the RTO, which is 3 hours. If the NO is 6 hours, the RTO will not be 3 hours, right? Then when you've established that, you can now also identify your recovery point objective, which is your RPO. Your recovery point objective, which is your RPO. And it's the maximum amount of data that an organization can afford to lose. I'm not saying in quotes that we want to lose data, but I'm saying the maximum data that an organization can afford to lose, right, during a disruption. So that boils down to, how do we back up our data? All of our data, how do we back them up? So now determines our appetite for data loss. Let's take, for example, we do a real-time backup, right? It's done in real time. That means we can't afford to lose any of our data, for example. And another instance, if you do an interval type of backing up, that means you can afford to do, but you can afford to lose any of your data if you do an interval type of backing up, right? So that's the difference. And that will now help us to quantify the amount of data we can afford to lose as an organization, as it were, right? And also, then we'll now also identify the minimum business continuity objective, which is the MBCO. So what is the minimum acceptable level of continuity that we can still do following a disruption? That's the MBCO. So that now is speaking to the strategies we have. So if this application, for example, we use in carrying out this process, if it's unavailable, do we have alternate channel that we can still do to ensure that this process is continuous, even if we can't do up to our full capacity? Can we still do something when it comes to that process? We need to define what the minimum business continuity objective would be, and that is in response to the strategies you have in place. Are we following, please? Are we together, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. Then, after you've identified all of these parameters, you need to also identify all of the dependencies that process or that activities is dependent on. And now we cannot prioritize that process based on our criteria of what a criticality is, what critical is, what non-critical is, and what less critical is, based on your criteria as an organization. And now you now use your RTO to now establish the priority for that process. And remember, the NO tells you the maximum time frame that the process can be unavailable, right? Then the RTO now tells you the time frame you aim to recover that process. So we are using the RTO to prioritize the process if that process is critical. And so when you've defined your criteria for identifying criticality based on your criteria and what the RTO is, right? What the RTO is, then you can now successfully determine that that process is critical to the organization or not critical to the organization or less critical to the organization based on the criteria that you've defined, right? When we've established all of those things and we've identified those critical processes, right, we can now look at, what are the risks that could disrupt these processes? Now we're looking at the risk assessment now. So you're seeing how these things are making sense. Are we relating it? So we are seeing how this thing is taking shape. Now we've identified those critical activities that we need, that needs to be up and running. Now we want to now look at the risk that could disrupt those processes. What are the risks? Now we are looking at the risk assessment now. So, but what are the risks that could disrupt those processes that you've identified as being critical to the organization, right? Then you start looking at the risks. This process, is there an IT risk here? Is there a supplier risk here? Is there a cyber attack risk here? Is there a power failure risk here? Is there cloud outage here, but whatever the risk is, you're the process owners, right? The process owners know the risks that could impact that activity, can affect that activity. You identify them, right? When you've identified them, right, you now look at what controls do I have to prevent the likelihood of this thing happening, or mitigating, or to reduce the likelihood of this thing happening. What controls do I have? What controls do I have? You look at the controls you have, and also you need to define the criteria for your likelihood. You need to also define the criteria for your impact. So based on the criteria that you've defined, you now look at it. Oh, these are the preventive controls. These are the mitigating controls we have. What is the likelihood of a power outage in Nigeria? A power outage happening. It is certain it's going to happen. It's very possible it's going to happen. What is the likelihood or possibility of a network failure in Nigeria? It's very possible it will happen. Very, very possible it will happen. Right? And when you look at the likelihood, so if it happens now, if this risk now materializes, what will be the impact? Will the impact be low to the organization, or there's no impact to the organization, or is there a severe impact to the organization, or is there a catastrophic impact to the organization? What the impact type will be, it's now will not help us. The impact and likelihood will not help us to now look at, oh, this risk is high, this risk is probably low, this risk is probably medium, based on our criteria. Before we conduct a risk assessment, we would have developed our risk methodology, or probably if you have an enterprise risk, for example, would have defined all of these criteria then, and would have also defined what our risk matrix is. Are we using a 5x5 matrix? Are we using a 3x3 matrix? What matrix are we using? Right? And also, we need to also establish our risk appetite within the organization. Not just organization, within us as an individual. For an example, so this is not just for an organization. We as individual, we can also embed business continuity into our own activities. Right? It's not just for organization. Individually, we can implement it. And I'll give you an example how you can implement it to work for you as a person. Maybe in our discussion phase, I'll just chip it in how it can work for you as a person, not an organization, but we'll talk about it. Right? You'll have established your criteria. Then if the multiplication of your likelihood or your impact falls within a certain threshold that says, oh, that impact is high, that risk is high, that means we need to look into that risk and treat it. Because if it materializes, it would impact the organization greatly. It's not the how you arrive at your impact level, right? It's not always in multiplication. You can do addition based on what you've defined as your criteria, right? It can be it can be also be an addition based on what you've done. So this is a typical example of a 3x3 matrix, right? We have the impact, we have the likelihood, right? Look at, I have 3 colors here. I have green, I have amber, and I have red. The red symbolizes that it is critical. The green, it is high, rather. Then the amber symbolizes that it is medium. The impact is medium. And the low symbolizes that, and the green symbolizes that it is low. This is a 3x3 matrix. So what would prioritize, what would identify the risk level? Then we cannot look at it. Is it within our threshold for risk acceptance? If it's within, we can accept that risk. But we can accept that risk if it's a low risk, and if that's our risk acceptance, our risk tolerance, if it's a low risk, we can accept that risk. But if the risk is medium or high, and our risk tolerance is low, that means we need to look into that medium and high risk and treat them. So depending on your treatment option, right? Depending on your treatment option, what's your treatment option? Do you want to manage risk? Do you want to transfer this risk to a third-party organization that will help you treat? Also with third-party organizations, so so you're taking part of it, and they're also taking part of it. Do you want to share the risk? So depending on what your treatment option will be, then you now look at how well, and based on the resources you have as a person or as an organization, what are the available resources for us to treat this risk? So you treat them and you make them fall within your risk tolerance. But it's not a must that it will fall within your tolerance. If the risks are risks that you can't completely prevent them from occurring, but you can manage them, right? It won't fall to your risk tolerance, but you can manage them. So, like I said, risk assessment is not a one-off thing that you just do and you leave it up. No, it's a continuous effort to manage them. To manage them. We are talking about disruption, and what could lead to this disruption is this risk. So, but be proactive about them rather than being reactive. When it happens, they will not react. No, we are proactive about them, right? We are planning for them already in place to minimize them, to minimize the impact, right? To prevent the likelihood from occurring. We are proactively analyzing them, right? Then when we've done all of those things, then we need to also establish our strategies. What strategies do we have to ensure that we can continue to, if this risks now materialize, for example, what are our strategies? For critical suppliers, let's say for example, what supplier will I use now? Okay, your network, for your ISPs, your internet service provider, for example. Let's say they are down, there's a disruption to one of your ISPs. Do you have alternate ISPs that you can fall back to? You have multiple ISPs that if fiber one, even the one is down, if fiber one is down, do you have what to do? Do you have? That's your strategy. If there's a power failure, do you have generator sets? Do you have solar systems embedded in your system? Right? If there's a 7 or X within close to your premises, your office premises, do you have alternate a facility that you can work from? Or do you have a working arrangement? So all of the disruptions that you can identify that could disrupt your processes or your activities, you want to have a strategy of how you can continue at this process, regardless of that. That's your strategy. Then your strategy now help you to work. Your strategy tells you, do this. How you do it is documented in your business continuity plan. And your continuity plan can be broken down into layers. Right? You can have your response plan. You have your crisis management plan. It's broken down into layers. So the combination of these layers is continuity plan. They should have team members assign different roles among these different layers as it is. You have structured procedures within all of those plans. Different criteria, who does that, and all of those things. Stated there. And these are the different components. We have the crisis management plan, right? But who gives strategic decision in a crisis or major disruption or major incident as it is. We have disaster recovery plan, right? That helps us to recover our IT infrastructures and data. How about the incident response plan? Help us to detect, assess, and also escalate an event before it becomes a major crisis as it is. Responder during an incident or a disruption. Then we have emergency response that caters for disruption that pertains to health and safety. So these are how the business continuity plan is broken down into. And then after, we need to exercise our arrangements, all of our plan. We need to exercise them. Because you can't know the effectiveness of your plan if you don't exercise them. You need to test them to know, to ascertain if they are fit for use during an actual emergency. You need to exercise your continuity arrangements. You need to exercise them. So we need to do exercise like a tabletop exercise of the business continuity plan, a walkthrough exercise, a solution, a full-scale exercise. And also, we need to also review some of the findings during that activities, and also we need to update our plan. I'll give you an example of exercise that you can do. But you can do fire drill exercise. You can do failover exercise. You're exercising your disaster recovery arrangement. You can do a culture exercise. You're exercising your crisis communication plan. You can do a backup exercise. You can do a medical exercise. There are a lot of exercises that you can do. So you need to exercise your plan.
Hello, Kelvin.
Yes, please.
Okay, you have 7 minutes. No, you have 7 minutes to go.
Oh, fantastic. Plus my 10 additional minutes.
Yes, please.
Oh,
7 minutes to go. Yes,
fantastic.
thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Then this, but what you need to know when it comes to that, but what just explained. Then, so the custodian of the management system is ISO, International Organization for Standardization. They are the custodian of the management system. So they are independent organizations that develop best practice that an organization, right, can leverage to improve the continuity of the system. right? So ISO is the custodian of the business continuity management system as it is, and this is the structure of how a business continuity management. We have from clause 4 to clause 10. 1, clause 2, clause 3 are non-auditable standard, right? Clause 1 talks about the slope, clause 2 talk about the and clause 3 talk about terms and what terms and nations. But from clause 4 to clause is the auditable standard, auditable clauses within the standard. So clause 4 talks about the context of the organization, understanding the context of the organization, both the internal and external issues that can impact our organization as it is. Then the 4.2 talks about the implementation of interested parties. Then clause 4.3 talks about your scope, the scope of the system, the boundaries and applicability of the management system. Then the clause 4.5 talks about the management system as it is and the different components within the system, right? Then clause 5 talks about leadership, how top management shows their leadership and commitment to the management system, how top management embed initiative of business continuity management system within their organization. And also the planning phase is how we action those issues that we've identified in clause 4.1 and also in clause 4.2 and 4.2.2, right? How we action all of those risks, how we treat them, right? Then 4.2 talks about the objectives and planning to achieve them. The objective that you set out to achieve, right, for the business continuity management system, which aligns perfectly with the strategic objective of the organization, right? And clause 6.3 talks about the planning changes to the management system as it were. And also clause 7 talks about support. It's also part of top management responsibility to also demonstrate, show this support to the management system as it is within the organization in terms of providing resources, competence, awareness, communication, and also having a documented information. And the operational part is where we look at all of the things that I have made mention: the business impact analysis, the risk assessment, your strategy and solution, your business continuity plan, your exercise and testing, right? That's for the operation part of the BCMS. Then the clause 9 talks about right things that is set out to achieve. How well have we met our target, right? The target we set out to achieve. How well have we met our target? And also we also conduct internal audits to also assess how well we've complied to the requirements of the standard, and also will also present our findings to top management as it is. And also clause 10 talks about improvement, right? Areas for non-conformity and also for corrective action, right? Areas where we are not in full compliance with the requirements of the standard, and also we want to identify the root cause non-conformity, see how we can address this root cause, and also correction as it is to those areas for non-conformance, and also the management system. The knowledge continuity management system is a business it is to you, and also how you can be shown. All right. So without further ado, do we have those contributions before we say a goodbye for this section?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Do you have question, please?
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe not a question, but just like you say, a contribution, trying to find out all that you have said.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. This is my contribution, not a contribution, but like this is what I understand, generally speaking, from the more like a takeaway for me.
All right.
Every business must plan for disruption. So from what I'm doing home now, I just have this at the back of my mind. No matter the business you are doing,
no matter.
Well, yeah, like you see, I was going to ask. I'm happy that you mentioned is it labor or banana? That woman that is selling. Yeah, that was a very powerful scenario. That was a very powerful scenario for everyone on the call to take home with. So every business must plan for disruption, because the system that we are but generally
very volatile.
They are very, very volatile in all sense of it. So I think this is a serious course or class that everybody on this course should take very seriously. I've been with transformation for the past probably 3 years now, and almost every year I keep repeating. In fact, in 9 months of 12 years, I'm always in the class, and it's been very interesting for me, and it has helped me in developing so many things. Like I can say for now, I've even employed a remote staff who I'm working with. I've not seen the person physically face to face, but we have employed the person. We are paying the person for the service the person is rendering, which is as a result of what I have learned from Transformation College. So adding this one to what I'm learning today, I think we also have to plan for disruptions anytime, any day. And it can happen. Now, but it's also I've learned also like the banking system. Okay, let me not go too far. Let me give an example. Bamboo is an app that I use. It had a disruption. They had a disruption that took maybe about 24 hours. So my question would be, what is it? You talk about the MT, that's the time frame for the disruption.
Maximum time.
The maximum time frame for the disruption. Is there a restore system back to organization sets the time frame for that? That's my
okay. So based on the resources you have and this you have, define what the maximum time frame for that the organization can tolerate a critical activity to be down, right? So based on the resources and the strategies you have, let's say for example, taking Bamboo into context, right? So I'm sure they don't have a very robust system, but when it comes to IT related outage, right? So because the issue was probably there's a system downtime or probably there's a network downtime as it is, right? They don't really have a robust strategy that they can employ for them to meet their recovery time objective, which is the ROTO, because 24 hours is a lot. Even First Bank, a few days back, they just restore their system, right? I think 2 days ago, I can't access my mobile app, right? Because they are doing system maintenance and things, right? They don't have like a backup arrangement or a structured strategy they can meet up with the set recovery time objective, because hours is it. And First Bank even took more than everything boils down to your strategy, your arrangement, the plans you have in place. Are they workable? You have can implement a sophisticated control or measure that can help you restore within a specified time frame. And everything boils down to the capability of the organization as it is.
Not to take so much of our time, what if is a plan maintenance and you give out a notification to customers that okay, we're going to do a plan maintenance with XY within so time, probably this weekend, and in fact you say that there should be alternatives arrangement for that, which means if you're using a banking system, for example, the bank says, okay, you cannot access your ATM, but you cannot access your, okay, let me use your own, you cannot access your mobile app, but you can access the ATM as a means of, if you have your card, you can go to any do your transfer and all of that. Is that still, that system is that also acceptable?
Okay. Yes, because you can meet your minimum business objective. Because during that incident, right, I can access through my mobile banking, but I could use SSD. So I could also make transfer. So that's the minimum acceptable level of continuity during that disruption. So they have different channels. I could ATM, and also I can make use of the USSD platform, right? So that's an alternative arrangement right? It suffices. But if all of these channels are unavailable, there's a massive problem. Like there's a problem, right? And it spans for complete 24 hours or 48 hours. There's a problem, right? So they have alternate arrangement. Yes, business continuity is exercised in that arrangement.
All right, finally, sir. Sorry, I'm taking your time. But finally, how do you manage stakeholders where you have, that is external stakeholders, where you have, you are not the one. Okay, let me give an example of myself. There's a service that I don't render, but I outsource it to a stakeholder to handle it. How do you manage this? Because, for example, if they are not able to meet up with your timeline of delivery, how do you, okay, let me give you an example. I sent a mail to one. I say, well, if you are not meeting my requirement, I'm going to, I have other options to attend to. The guy felt that was like a threat to him. I say, it's not a threat. I'm just only telling you the options that I have, that you're not the only one that I can give this. So is there a plan that you should have in other, just what plan should somebody have in dealing with?
Okay. So, first of all, before you partner or have a supplier into your system, you need to have SLAs with these suppliers, and also based on the SLAs you have with them. First of, you need to conduct your due diligence of this supplier. Part of due include areas like, do you have a business continuity arrangement and all of those things, right? And also, you also signed SLAs with the suppliers, and you would also evaluate the suppliers based on the signed SLAs and also based on the due diligence that you've had with the suppliers, right? That could also help minimize the impact of suppliers, because they have a robust system that deliver to you. However, you can also have multiple suppliers. That's why we always emphasize that you should have a dual sourcing arrangement within your system, right? Have your primary supplier and also have alternates, right? But regardless, because uncertainty can happen anytime, right? So have an alternate suppliers that can also help you deliver that same services that this same suppliers does for you. And also, you need to also evaluate them on a, I don't know, depending on your frequency of or annually, depending on your criteria, right? So you need to also evaluate their business continuity and arrangement within their system, and also so that you can track bottlenecks within their own system, right?
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very, very much, sir. And do we have any other question? We'll just call it a day from the BCMS, please. Do we have? All right. In absence of no further question, thank you everyone for your contribution and also giving me the time to also listen to what I've said so far around business continuity. Thank you very much. And also, please, I will need all of us to also look into business continuity and also embed it into not just our system, to ourselves as a person. We need to be proactive about them, right? Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your and your day as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. Please, a round of applause to him. Thank you for that excellent delivery. So please, I just want to get your responses. Do we want to go for break, or should we just run it through today? Please let me hear your responses in the chat room. Thank you so much. Should we go for a 10-minute break, or should we continue for today?
Okay, sorry, let me just say something. I just saw some messages on the chat. Right, yes. So Mr. Ismail, right? Yes, a BIA comes before your risk assessment, right? Because you identify the critical processes, then you now look at the risks to those critical processes. Yes, thank you very much. Okay,